All right, there we go. Great. Well, welcome everyone to this month's YMCA's Digital Services monthly call. Thank you for rescheduling with us last Tuesday when we normally have the call. That was Election Day. It was a YUSA holiday. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility. Also, Tom Gardner will not be able to join us today. He might be able to join the call a little later if possible, but he had a scheduling conflict. But the rest of the team is here, and we're looking forward to presenting you the latest updates from the core development team. And in particular, we've prepared some demonstrations for the new layout builder that is currently underway, and we can show how that experience is a bit different than the experience you might be familiar with for creating content currently. Let's see, we will also, of course, do question and answer at the end of the presentation. And if you want to present your questions to me in the chat or just raise your hand, then, I'll be watching all those windows. So thank you so much. And I will turn the meeting over to Kylie to get us started.
Hi, guys. Good morning and afternoon, depending on what side of the country you're on. So quick agenda for us today. We are going to be talking through some GroupX Pro updates for those of you who utilize GroupX Pro. We've got some security updates from Andrii, who's going to tell us what's coming in the future for those of you who are concerned, or at least for your IT departments who then will become concerned. Stasya and Avi are going to be walking us through a demo of Layout Builder. I'm going to give you another public service announcement when we get closer to that. It is still being developed and it's still being worked on. So you guys, we trust you very much that we're going to show you midway through. If we do see a bug, please don't judge us too harshly. We will have these all fixed in the next 2 weeks, but we're working our way through them as we go. We've got some updates on some future release items for you that we think you guys will be pretty excited about. And then any kind of feedback or questions you may have at the end, we're just going to leave a little bit of time for that. So that's our agenda. Let me move through. So starting off with schedules, and this is specific to those of you who are utilizing GroupX Pro through the DAXCO piece. In the last conversation, you guys will remember us talking a little bit about how DAXCO and the GroupX Pro API was going to change, and that there was going to be an associated cost with that. We have had many conversations now with DAXCO between myself and Tom Gardner, and this is where we've netted out at this point, which is we got the deadline extended from December 31st to February 28th. So we bought ourselves just a little bit more time. They have also committed that the cost for the access to the new API would be $39 per association. I have that in writing. If anyone has challenges, let me know. I'm happy to support. And they said it was based on 40,000 calls. I have had a conversation with the architects that should be fine for most WISE. We should be okay in that structure. So that's what you would be looking at. If you do not want to incur the cost of changing out the API, you don't have to. You can go to the embed code, which they've also revamped and made it look a little bit more neat and nice. So the embed code of past is gone, and there's a newer version of it that is at least mobile responsive, which the old one was not. So there's options available for you if you don't want to or are unable to take on the budgetary cost of this. They did ask me to let you guys know that through this piece, what they would need would be if you decided to update your API. And this is something you would work with your vendor on to help you do. But if you would like to go forward and update your API with DAXCO, you would need to reach out to your DAXCO partner or account representative. It would take them about 2 weeks to change your contract. And then it would be whatever the time in terms of from the time that they get you the contract, sign the contract and get it to you, they're figuring that's about 2 weeks. And then it would be the implementation time on the side. So you don't want to leave it until, end of February to start going through the process because you'll get relatively limited at that point. But we do have 3 months to make a decision on how you would like to proceed and talk about it internally with your stakeholders on that side. So that's what they have. If there's any questions on that I'm happy to help field, feel free. You can reach me in Slack or through the channel, and we can kind of continue to go for that. But again, this is only for those who are using the API for DAXCO GroupX Pro. These are the changes that are going to be coming our way. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Andrii to talk through some of the security items.
Yep, thank you, Kylie. Tom, can you switch to next slide? So this diagram will be posted to Slack channel, and I believe we should include it into our documentation. So as you can see on this diagram, on the top of dates, this is our current state. No, can you switch back?
Yeah, no, it was my fault, Andrii. I bumped something.
Sorry.
Ah,
No. Yeah.
there we go.
And this is not yet demo, so be prepared.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So right now, distribution is on Drupal core 9.3. Development happening on Drupal core 9.4. So in December, we are going to release distribution with Drupal 9.4 included. As you can see, support for Drupal 9.4 will be up to the June 5. So we'll have 2 quarters next year on stable core in order to prepare us to upgrade to next versions of Drupal core. The reason why we are not on Drupal core 9.5 because it's going to be released only in December 14. And usually when you see 9.5.0 or 10.0.0, last 0 means that yes, this is stable, but this core usually contains some unknown bugs that should be fixed. And in Drupal community, there is a best practice that before switching to the next major core release, let's wait for at least fast minor release released. So in December, we're going to be on Drupal 9.4. Next year, starting Q1, you'll see our first or second point release with Drupal core 9.5 included. This is where early adopters can start using the distribution. But technically, what this means that you can plan, or your association, a supporting partner, can plan upgrade almost half a year to the next version of Drupal core, still staying on 9.4, which will be supported, secured, and plenty of time to stay on. Can you switch to the next slide?
Absolutely.
Yes. So current our state, as I said, 9.4. December, January will be 9.5 release, and on the same time, it will be 10 release. Difference between 10 and 9.5 is, in terms of features, there is no difference. The only difference is in Drupal 10 release, there won't be any support of Drupal 9 only code. So Drupal 10 release will be without deprecated code, which is in 9.5. Current state for us to get to Drupal 10 is that from approximately 500 models that we have in distribution, only 22 is not yet released for Drupal 10. So we are close to that release, but once we have all these models released by community, it's not our models, it's a community models. Once we have them released to Drupal 10, we'll start testing our distribution against the decent version of Drupal core. So that previous slide will be shared, and please share that slide with your partners, with your supporting agency, because that should be helpful to plan upcoming upgrades next year. Thank you.
Thank you. So just let your team know that there's 2 upgrades. The big one that we want to make sure that we let you guys know is Drupal 10 will be coming in 2023. For those of you who've done a Drupal 9 upgrade, you know that it's a bit of a bigger one. We don't have any expectation that this one will be quite as big, but we do want you to plan for it with your partners and make sure that you're prepping for it. All right. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand it over to Stasya. While we're getting this set up, just as a quick reminder, as I said, we're still in QA for a lot of these. So they're going to show you 3 major components within the layout builder piece. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And we are still kind of just cleaning up last bits of bugs. These are the elements that will be available on December 14th, which will be the next release. Included additional components will be raised. There'll be a total of 15 at that point. We're just going to show you 3. In the January release, we'll do a full demo of all the stuff so you guys can take a better peek.
All right, thank you very much, Kylie. So again, hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. So we are going to take a look at 3 components that we have already created. These components are grid CDA, ping-pong component, and an accordion. And first of all, I will just show you how they already look on the page that I have created. And after that, I will build one of them from scratch just to show you how this process works. And yes, as Kylie mentioned, this is our first iteration. And the main goal for today is to provide you with a general idea of how Layout Builder works and to demonstrate you a structure of the 3 components that I mentioned before. So we are still working on testing them, on gathering feedback, and eventually with the next iterations, these components are going to become even more flexible and more user-friendly. And also, please don't try to remember any of the steps that I'm going to show right now, just because when these components go live, we will be able to provide you with all necessary editorial documentation, and you can refer to it anytime in future. All right, so let's start. The first component I'm going to show you is the grid CDA. I'm sure all of you are familiar with it already. It allows us to add an image, title, description, and the button, as well as you can also add a title and a subtitle and the button of the section itself. And also the grid CDA items then can be placed in 2, 3, and 4 columns, as you can see on the screen right now. So the next component is the ping-pong. It allows you to place an image either on the left or on the right part of the screen. You can add the title, description, and 2 types of buttons, the primary button and the secondary button. If you need to place only one button, then the system will choose the primary one as a default. And also you can add a title and a subtitle for the section. The colors of the buttons, they will revert according to the background color. For example, here you can see the gray background, but please don't pay much attention to the primary button here. We are still working on it, and eventually it will look much prettier. And the last component for today is going to be accordion. For the accordion component, you can decide whether you would like to put the title or not. And if you are placing the title, then the accordion itself will be aligned to the right. Here, I just played with the fonts to show you how it can look like. You can also place the button here. You can attach the link to the text, or you can place an image or video. If you decide not to go with the title, then the accordion will be centered and stretched to the whole screen like this. All right, let's try to create one component together. For that, we need to go to the Layout tab right here. All right. Here we go. First of all, we need to add a section. Just please allow my computer a few moments. Okay, just a moment, please. It looks
It's
weird.
always slower when we're screen sharing, everybody. That's the unfortunate challenge.
And
Yeah,
it's a demo mode. It's always glitching during demo,
It is too.
real time.
yes, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm sharing the screen, but
Just out of question.
Try going back to the layout page and refreshing it.
We did promise that it was a first iteration. We did promise there'd be some small hiccups. So here we are.
There we go.
We hold true to our public service announcement as we go through it.
okay, it works.
There we go.
Yeah, I swear I checked it 5 minutes before the demo. It worked perfect. So
Nothing's
yeah,
lost.
yeah, it happens. So when you are creating a section, you have 4 options here, but for now, let's stick with the 1 column section. Yeah, and just a few moments for my computer. All right. So when you're creating the sections, you have a bunch of different options of how you can style it, how you can work with the layout, but probably we will have a separate demonstration to dive deeper to all these fields. For now, let's just create a simple section. When the section is created, it allows us to add a block to it. Here we have 3 options. Let's start with the grid CTA component. I think it's quite flexible and popular.
In your own site, when you're not sharing, I promise you it is faster. It's just everything like this when you do demos is a little bit slower as it runs through.
So here we are going to manage our blog. The first title is administrative one. It's not going to be displayed on the page, but we still need to put it here. You can manage section title and section subtitle, and by unchecking the box, you can decide whether you would like it to be displayed or not. And the same one is related to the button for the section. Let's stay with the 2 columns in order not to waste a lot of time. So here we are going to work with the grid items. Item. Put some text here. And we can select an image. As usual, you can either choose it from the media, browse it from here, or you can upload a new image from your desktop. But we have already some images here, so just a moment for it to upload, to download. All right, the image is here. Now we can place URL. I'll just take the front one for now. And the link text, which is the text of the button. Let's just stay with test. And I'm going to do the same with the second item. Let's just put this text here, select one more image. All right. The second image is selected, and I'm going to do the same for the link and the button text. All right. So when give me just a moment, I have Zoom here. Okay, so when we finished with editing the blog, I click Add the blog. This notification just shows us that we did some changes, but in order to save them, we need to click this big Save Layout button, and it will show us the preview.
Preview is already on the page.
Yeah.
Just below your screen. Yeah.
So this is how the grid CTA component looks like. I'm not going to waste much of your time to create all of the components together. What I'm going to do, I will just open the configuration of the ping pong and accordion just to do a quick overview of the fields that we have there. So let's move to the ping pong component. I'm clicking on this small pencil and choose configurations. The process for all components is going to be similar and it's quite intuitive. So just the fields differ. All right. For the ping pong component, we have this administrative title, the section title and subtitle. And here we start adding items. The first item, we add the title for it, we add description, we add image as we did before for the grid CTA component, and we can choose whether we would like the image to be positioned in the left part or in the right. And here you can add 1 or 2 buttons. As I said, if you are going to use just one, it will always choose the primary one. And that's it here. And the last component is accordion. I'm going to do the same thing. All right, as I mentioned, you can either display title or not. And according to what you choose, this is how accordion will be placed on the page. Let's just add one more item together. So I click on Add Accordion Item. It's going to be item number 5. And I'll just put this text here and update it. All right, the fifth item is here. In order to expand it, we need to save layout again and to see how it looks. All right, here is the fifth item that we just added. So basically that's it. That's it from my side. I'm just gonna pass microphone to Avi, and he is going to share some more details regarding layout builder configurations. Avi, please.
Cool. Thanks, Stasya. Yeah, so just gonna go over some meta layout builder things. As Stasya showed you, instead of all of your fields being in the edit section now, all of your work on the page is going to be here in this layout tab. So this is where you're going to do all of your content and configuration. So we're here, you can see at the top, there are a couple options. As Stasya said, that save layout button is a big deal. You can make and rearrange any content on the page that you like, and it won't be published until you hit that save layout button. So you're welcome to do any edits you want without them kind of appearing in an unfinished state to members. So as you scroll down the page, you can see there's sections, as Stasya showed you, and then there are blocks. So the sections correspond to the old header, footer, content areas that we had with the paragraphs layout. And instead of paragraphs, you'll have blocks here. So a couple kind of terminology changes, but you'll get used to them. So Stasya is showing you when you create a section, Stasya, you can go ahead and create another one column. So both for the sections and for the blocks, you'll have a lot of options here. So Stasya kind of went through this to get through the demo quickly, but yeah, so for the containers, similarly to how we had the full width and the one column layouts before, we also have options for full width or edge to edge sections. There are options for the gutters, and then on that second tab on the page, there's so many more options for backgrounds, changing the text color, the spacing. So all of these, like we said, are still a work in progress. And you'll also be able to customize these with your development partners. There are a ton of options in here, and there's a lot of power to configure the page as you like, or to theme it totally differently if you have different requirements there. So back to the layout page, one of the issues that we always had with paragraphs was that it was impossible to move content between sections. It was also just generally hard to kind of rearrange things. So Layout Builder makes it really easy to move content anywhere on the page that you like. So as Stasya is going to show, you can drag and drop up and down. Also at the top of the page, there is this content preview button. If you uncheck that, it hides all of the content and you just have the titles. So if you want to move a piece of content into a different section or a long way on the page, you can hide that content, and it makes it really a lot easier to move things around. Yeah, lots of options. Stasya, one more, maybe you can go into the ping pong that you have, and we can change the background color in there. Yeah, so as we showed, you can go into the configuration. All of your fields are going to be on this first tab, but then the styles are going to be here. Again, there's some work to do cleaning all of this up and making the colors all right, but we're going to change that background color and hit save. And you can see it right here on the page. One last thing, we changed the background color, but we didn't change the text color. So that's something that you'll need to be aware of. Also, the layout builder view does add some margins, and it gives you a good preview, but it's not 100% preview of how the content will look. So yeah, once Stasya gets that back to readable, you can see, especially in the ping pong, there's some spacing in there. Some of the links on the page won't work because it would, if you accidentally clicked on a link, it would take you to a totally different place. So the layout builder view is close to a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get editor, but it's not quite. So once you save the page, again, all the way up at the top, you will save when you're finished working, and then you will see the completed work as it will appear to editor or to members. So that is what we've got. Thank you. And again, as Shelley mentioned, we'll have detailed video documentation, tutorials, all of this to come. So now back to Kylie.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. So as I'm changing screens here, the primary goal of Layout Builder is to make your guys' jobs as content editors easier. So when you're building pages, you can see what we're building. It will take a little bit of time for us to get that all into the distribution and fully, because we're refactoring a lot of elements and we're reducing some of the elements because Layout Builder, as you can see, is so much more flexible. You don't need 3 blocks that look almost the same to do the same thing. We can just make one and you guys have the flexibility to do it. So when we decided as a core team what to go after, our goal was to give the content editors who have been supporting us for so many years a win. We wanted to make your lives easier. So that's how we chose Layout Builder. If you're ever wondering where the selection came from, it is very much to make your guys' day-to-day life easier and more supported as you move forward. So how this is going to look like in future releases. Let's go through that quickly. So we have 2 releases coming up that are pre-planned already. We have planned March and June. We will be releasing on the 2nd Tuesday of each of those months. So that's when we know when the next releases will come. Our release structure as defined is the 2nd Tuesday of the last month of the quarter. In March, we are going to be launching the first version of the design system, and we have our subject matter expert group here within the design team that's going to be helping and seeing shortly the first sneak peek of that. And we're really excited to get to show you what that will look like here in the coming months. The first bit of the design system will include global designs, menus, footers, just another option for you. Carnation is what we've been basing Layout Builder on at this point. We're trying to give you something new for the menus that is a little bit more modern. The current version of the menus for Carnation were designed in 2017. And so lots have changed in best practices for websites since 2017 to 2023. So just giving you a little bit of an update. To be clear, we're not reinventing the menu wheel here. It will still look like a menu. There'll just be slight improvements to help it have better UX and work better for our users. In addition to the design systems, we are going to have layout version 2 included in this. And Shelley's going to go through this in greater detail, so you can see this in a few minutes. Will be an amalgamation of blogs, news, and articles into a single content type with much more flexibility. The event content type and the branch content types, and then within the branch content types, all of the components that are used typically on branch structures and pages. As Andrii already spoke about, we're going to have a Drupal security update to 9.5, and then coming in June, we're going to go up to 10. Fingers crossed. We're hoping for 10, provided all those modules are where they need to be. And then we're going to have our third version of Layout Builder. That will include camps, programs, and any sort of final cleanup items that need to be done as we migrate everything over. We're working on some automated marketing items too with Tom Gardner at that point. And then the rest of the items that will come in both of these, because there's capacity for both of these releases to take on some items that you, the community, tell us that you need. You'll see a first couple of those that Shelley's going to go through here in the March release, because there's a couple components that don't exist right now that we're going to be adding into the distribution that you as a community have told us would be helpful. So Shelley, why don't I pass the mic to you and I'll just drive and you let me know when you want me to change the screens.
Sounds good. Okay, so just a little lead in here. The examples I've put into the deck are existing examples from the distribution, some from the sandbox that we use to kind of demo things and test things on our side, and then also some items that from other associations within the distribution, just to show you what your existing component will currently looks like and what we are going to be building off of and changing and modifying as we go forward. So you can go ahead and hit the first slide here. So the first things we'll be doing, and this will actually be part of the design system rebuild that we'll be doing for the next release, will be global site headers and utility menus. And that is your open Y logo area, and any of this utility menu logins, select language selector, and some other different menu items usually are placed in these utilities. So we'll be redesigning that piece. We can go to the next slide. Next, we've got our global site footers. I've just got a couple of examples of site footers here. One that's a very simple with just social media and then a couple links. And then another version that's a bit more of an advanced footer that has more of a, should we say, mega footer aspect to it, where it's got additional links and other functionality as well. So we'll be taking a look at footers. A big part of this will be a redesign of the mega menu. So we are going to be continuing to give you, I believe, up to 3 levels in this mega menu as you currently have. And it's just going to look a little bit different and have a different user experience and probably be a bit better for your members to be able to navigate things. So we're going to be approaching new mega menu. Next, we'll be taking in our breadcrumbs and kind of redesigning those, making them look a little fancier, and you can place those on pages, or you have an option to remove them from pages as well. So it'll be kind of an on-off toggle for breadcrumbs.
That is this, just to clarify, that's not this.
Yeah.
It's phone swimming, drop-in swim. That is what is classified as breadcrumbs. I don't know who made that name in the digital world, but that's what they call it.
Yes, I think it was in our sandbox as well. So. Next will be a partners block where you can include some logos for some of your partners and sponsors for your programs or events or other things like that. So this will be a flexible space you can place in pages. Our big piece will be combining news, blogs, press releases into a single content type for articles, where you will have the flexibility to be able to choose which article type you'd like to have. So in essence, you will go into the article content type, you'll say, this is just a quick press release with a title and a short body, and I want to place it in the middle of this page. You'll have the capability to just be able to select press release and then place it wherever you like within a page. So you'll have some different flexibility rather than having to choose which content type will go where. You will create the content and then say, this is the type of content it is, and then you can place it wherever you like. So there'll be a lot more flexibility and fewer decisions that you'll have to make when creating news and blog items. Okay, and next we're going to be redoing events. So again, just basic event pages that you can slide into either a branch page or to a home page or any other page, and also the filtering and sorting for events listings as well.
And I just want to call out here, Shelley, just a reminder, we've heard you, as you have all been telling us over the last year, that events are both on-site and virtual. Sometimes they're not at a branch at all. Sometimes they're at a golf course that you guys are sponsoring. So we have heard you guys all tell us that events can take place over numerous different structures, and we're working to make permanent improvements there. Some people have custom code to help them with that, but we're going to make it permanent within the distribution.
Thank you, Kylie. And then we'll be approaching some custom components specifically related to branches in this round, since branches are basically our biggest location content type. So the 3 items we've pulled from branches we're going to be working on will be branch amenities, branch hours, and then the branch menu. So if you go to the next slide, this is what our branch amenities block looks like. And we'll be fancying this up and making this available for branch pages. And I believe once it's in the distribution, you can also place it on other landing pages as well. So it won't be just specific to the branch pages. If you want to put it on a home page, put it on another page, you'll be able to do that. Okay. And the branch hours. So you can identify your location, all of your different hours, and there's also some holiday hours and other flexibility will be built into this as well. So it'll be very modifiable based on the different use cases that we know you all have with hours and everything, which can be kind of complicated at times.
Specifically holiday hours and off, Thais. So what we're trying to do is amalgamate all the feedback you guys have been so kind to tell us over the years of the things that are different and unique. We're trying to make it as flexible as possible so that you guys can be the masters of your website as much as possible.
And then our branch menu, which is that purple menu down on the bottom of the page there. And that will also be shown in our upcoming design demo for the design group.
And I think this is probably, I just want to call out, this is one of the pieces that we've heard the most complaints. It's difficult to use. People don't typically understand what it's doing. Functionality has some problems. So there's a lot of attempts to rethink this one. We're doing our best. it is a complicated scenario. So we have people more smart than Shelley and I are helping us design that right now and come up with some very nice options, but we're very excited to show you guys and get your feedback as we move forward. Right.
And next we have, oh, I think, did you skip the first one?
I did.
There we go. Next, we've got a couple of new components. Again, we've been kind of hearing some of your needs and some of the needs of different associations. And it seems like testimonials as far as content to kind of promote some of your offerings and your services within the community and what it is that what the Y actually does within your communities would be actually useful. So we can pull some direct quotes from Y members and display them in almost a slider kind of component on the page. You can add up to 3 quotes and users can scroll through them and read what your Y members have to say about your association. And each item would include an image for the user if you wanted to include that to give it a little more personal touch, their name, and then their quote text. And the next new item would be a staff team member block, where we could display up to 4 team members across the page. Again, kind of more of a simple, not meant to be biographies or anything like that, just an image, a name, and their position and role. And if it's something that maybe would be interested to link out to another page, it's something that we could add on in the future to create like actual pages for these team members. But for now, we felt like just to give that a little bit more of a personal touch for your association to show what you're about and maybe feature some of your staff, this would be a useful component that you could place on a page and place it within any page. So if you had a staff for an event that you wanted to put within an event page, you could absolutely do that. All right, and that is everything for our new components.
Yeah, and so just a quick little note here at the end, we put in some of the channels and some of the documentations, message boards, different links that we can have. We're going to share this set of documents. I'll put it as a PDF in the Slack channel. I'll give it to Tom and we can upload that for you as well so that you can have access to it. We are here at any point should you have questions. I think the one thing before I see if there's any questions from the community is to remind you that we do our very best to hear you. So if you have things you need or things that would make your life better, please let us know, let Tom know, let myself know, or ask for it directly in the Slack channel, in the general channel. We do keep a tally of all of those asks and start sort of trying to find our way into the distribution as best as possible. Typically, the more people who ask, it's typically how it gets prioritized in our system. That is it. Is there any questions, either via the thing or not? Matt Barnes has a question. Any plans to have integrations? Oh, just a sec. Any plans to have integrations for some of these blocks, like testimonies? For example, testimonies can be fed through Google reviews, etc. At this point, at the first version, no. In the future, potentially, if there's a need for it. Yeah, if you guys suggest us and tell us that that's something you want. My concern with Google reviews would be curation. Specifically, you would want to curate those. You wouldn't want it to be a free-for-all, just because the internet is not always as kind as we'd like it to be. But outside of that, if that was something you would be interested in, we're always open to that as an idea. What about contact info on staff pages, Shelley?
Yeah, I think, it's worth discussing if we'd like to include a space maybe for an email address or a phone number within those profiles. My only concern would be putting a lot of info directly below the little profile card, especially once you get 4 across the page. It might look a little crowded. Maybe what we could do is link the user's name to like an email address or something like that, so that if a user clicks, they could just click on that user's name and then your email client opens and then you can send an email to that particular user. I think that would be a good user experience. I'd recommend, not putting an entire big contact list below each profile. That would be more appropriate, I think, for like a staff member page where I'd click on the user's name and then it would take me to a page that has all their contact info. So I think there's 2 use cases for it. In this instance, I would try to keep it maybe a little more simple and just have the email client linked to their name. And then maybe for a phase 2 or phase 3, we can discuss creating an actual team member page for individual bios and things like that.
Awesome. We have a question from Mike. Any plans for integration with Google Calendar as well for events and schedules?
I can answer this. So we had integration with Google Calendar back in the day. I believe that code is still available, but not supported anymore by us. Google Calendar has opportunity to put a widget on the page. This is how it's usually used. But if you need to copy all the data to the site and gain that SEO component, search engines, then your development partner should be working on picking up that old code and updating it to a recent version of distribution.
There is an add to calendar in
Schedules
schedules
in,
and
Activity
layout.
Finder, but it's a different thing. It's when you need to add
the
some
other way.
event from site pages to your Google Calendar or to any other calendar. We have 6 or 7 there supported.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the feedback, Liz, on the team member block. We're very excited. We've heard from a number of Ys that that's important. And then Ryan Thomas is asking us if you can remind us when the first release date for Layout Builder is. It is December 14th. It will be specifically 14th, Andrii. It's Tuesday. It will be just with landing pages specific for Carnation at the first round. You can adopt it at that point moving forward. And then over the next little bit, just as a reminder, it's a bit of a lazy migration. So you can move content over. Both things, your current site and infrastructure can live with Layout Builder at the same time, and you can move pages over as you have time. One of the last bit of items I wanted to address quickly just before we adjourned, Tom, was the time frame, because there was a couple emails last time after the call in terms of supporting non-Layout Builder structures should we once this is completed. So as we talked about, our goal is for June to have all of this complete for you and ready to roll out. At that point, we will be supporting the current version for about a year, so probably till June 2024. The reality is you can stay on your version indefinitely. There is no requirement for you or your association to move up into a Layout Builder version if you don't want to, or if it's just not financially viable. The only difference between a supported and unsupported version is whether we will be building additional features and functionalities into that version. And so probably about a year, we're still discussing it after the final version is live. We will stop adding new features and functionalities to that older version and only support the newer version. And that will be where the new security updates and things like that will come from. But our goal is to give you guys time to make a decision and to migrate over slowly and patiently. We all know that you have very busy lives and many of you are wearing multiple hats. So we don't want to put too much pressure on the content editors by trying to give you support. Sorry, Andrii.
To add additional sinful Layout Builder, I remember we received a couple of questions from the community that Layout Builder we are working on will be only for Carnation. But this is our decision because we have that much of resources to build new features. And if you still want to stay on old versions, no, let's not call them old, on current versions of content types, Layout Builder is not limited to only Carnation or to any specific content type.
Yeah.
You can enable it across your site and start using it. It's core functionality of Drupal. The only disclaimer here is that we are polishing all these components that Avi and Stasya presented to you today to Carnation only, and they will be looking at other themes differently with probably some glitches. This is where it will require additional development work, but it's not limitation. It's something that probably will be changed in our roadmap going forward based on different feedback from different associations and partners. And if some of the digital partners of your association, which is not on this call, have resources to backport something to distribution to improve support of different components across other themes, we are not limiting that. It's open source world. You can do almost anything you do. But we still need to stick to the roadmap that is, let's say, average across all associations, across all partners, in order for us to keep moving forward with the pace that we all need.
Absolutely. We're really excited for you guys' feedback and thoughts. We will reconvene again in December, and hopefully we'll be able to show you a bit more. We'll do a full demo the day of the release at and our next call are a week apart. So the release comes week following it. So we won't be able to show you the full amount at that point, but we'll be able to show you in the new year. Tom, was there anything else? We are out of questions on the board. Is there anybody else who has any questions before we adjourn?
Let's see. I don't see any questions from like hands up. Just kind of scanning the crowd here. I think we're good to go. I want to take a second just to make a special call out. Again, a lot of our tech muscle is based in Ukraine, and they are doing amazing work despite continued attacks, rolling outages, all kinds of horrible things that they are going through. But their passion is working with us and building this product together. And I just want to send a shout out to them and let them know that our hearts and minds are with you.
Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate you all.
We will win.
Yeah, it's amazing that you are here. Nothing can keep you away from the meeting.
No. I'm on Starlink on generator and I have a full backup.
Yeah, they're making it work, and we really, really appreciate them. If
There's one more.
I see it now. We are just starting our build. Should we wait until this launches? If you're just starting a build, you might be able to import it. It depends on who your vendor is, but I'm happy to talk with you about it and give you one-to-one. So if you want to reach out via Slack, myself or Tom can help guide you through. I do have a couple of our clients that I've suggested hold their development for 2 weeks so they could pick up the newer version. It's not too long. So it depends on your want. There's not a one-size-fits-all scenario here, but absolutely you'll be able to adopt it as well. So it just depends on where you are in your build and what makes the most sense for you and your association. Thank you guys all so very much. Thank you to our Ukrainian team who continues to support us, and let us know, Tom, if there's any questions. We'll post the PDF of the slides for today as well as the video at the end of the call.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Awesome. And we'll just hang